Domini dirige nos.
Amen. Amen. Before moving to consider the items on today's agenda, may I remind those present that this meeting is being recorded in accordance with the City Corporation's filming and recording protocol. Furthermore, members will notice that officers are not on the desk, as they would be in the Great Hall. To help officers see those of you who wish to speak, the Lady Mayor has asked that you please stand if able, or otherwise move to the aisle. This is so that we can see you to your indication to speak. Thank you. This will not interrupt debate. We will do our best to signal once we have spotted you so that you can return to your seat until called. So please bear with us, and thank you again. Moving then to item 1, the names of those members who have presented apologies for today's meeting have been recorded. At item 2, does any honourable member have any additional interest to declare in respect of the items to be considered? Seeing none. Turning to item 3, on page 7, the question usually would be that the minutes of the last court are correctly recorded. However, due to a printing error, whilst the attendance list was circulated, the actual substance of the public minutes were not. They will therefore be put to the court in January, and we apologise for that. At item 4, the Right Honourable the Lady Mayor to report on her recent engagements.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm honoured to be here on the first occasion to stand before you as the Lady Mayor. And I'd like to take the opportunity to thank my predecessor, Alistair, and Florence, for the kind words of wisdom he offered to Gary and I. And my thanks too to all of you for your support in my first few weeks of office. This is the first time I've been able to speak to you, so I just very briefly want to cover the engagements and a little bit on the 12 months ahead. The role of the Lady Mayor is, of course, not a ceremonial one. It is a business one. And as the ambassador for the UK's financial and professional services, I intend to stand up for our city and the sector, not just in London, but across the UK. I also realise that as head of the City London Corporation, I have an absolutely real responsibility to work in partnership with government, industry, but most importantly, all of you, on our shared ambition to keep the city competitive, to ensure it's a great place to live and work, and to drive that economic growth, and importantly, the livelihoods that come with it. And this will, of course, involve convening key industry, government, and other figures at Mansion House, which I like to think of as the financial and professional services sector's embassy in the heart of the city. And of course, one of the fundamental responsibility of the Mayoralty is to represent the UK on the world stage, travelling with the express aim of increasing investment flows into London and selling our skills and capabilities. And with this in mind, I do realise I will be spending around 100 days overseas. And I had an early visit to Amsterdam, standing in for the Investment Minister at a meeting with Dutch investors. And on my first trip stateside, I met with a range of businesses who did tell me that the city is still a great place to invest, although we had more to do on simplifying regulation and scaling up funding. You may have already heard me say that in the UK, we are very good at saying what we're not good at, but we're very bad at shouting about the areas where we do excel, and there are many. And we all here have a responsibility to change that. And we welcome the Prime Minister to the Guildhall for the First Lady Mayor's banquet, and he too spoke of the pressing need for the UK to face outward again. And this city is at the heart of that mission. And I think at the State banquet on the 4th of December, we put our soft power on show. So we've made a great start, but in the new year, together, can I say that we need to be bolder. We need to do everything within all of our power to turn this ambition into action and to connect capital with opportunity. But I very much hope the festive period gives us all the chance to rest and recharge and to make us ready for the opportunities ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, my Lady Mayor. Under item 5, the Chairman of Policy and Resources.
My Lady Mayor, your mayoralty has begun at pace. The first ever Lady Mayor's show was a resounding success, and you've captured the spirit of the moment with the idea of unsquaring the square mile. On behalf of this honourable court, we all look forward to supporting you and Gary throughout your civic year. Now, last week here in Guildhall at the State Banquet, the German President reminded us in his address that tradition stays alive when it moves with the times. And as we head towards the Christmas break, we reflect on having welcomed new members to this honourable court earlier this year, and we remember the difference we make when we come together to make hard decisions that keep our city's traditions alive whilst moving with the times. 2 years ago, we launched Vision for Economic Growth, which led to the creation of the Office for Investment Financial Services, our inward investment hub, underscoring our status as the partner of choice for government. And the OFIFS has already had its first success. Last week, the Lady Mayor and I were delighted to celebrate US insurer AM Specialty Insurance Group, who became the first approved secured through the new accelerated regulators pathway. 1 year ago, we came together to make a difficult decision to demarketise the Billingsgate and Smithfield market sites. Working with traders and the Greater London Authority, I was delighted to announce earlier this month that plans are advancing for a purpose-built site at Albert Island in the Royal Docks, providing certainty for traders while unlocking housing and regeneration opportunities. This site will be privately developed at no cost to the City Corporation. 6 months ago, in this honourable court, I said that I was committed to finding a solution to the state of our housing. And later today, honourable members will be asked to come together to vote for that solution. Taken together, these decisions reflect the city we are shaping, a city which is experiencing a true renaissance, a city moving forward with confidence and purpose. My Lady Mayor, honourable members and officers, I wish you and your families a very Merry Christmas and a hugely successful New Year for all of us here at the City of London Corporation.
Thank you, Chairman. Moving to item 6. This concerns the vacancies on the several committees and outside bodies to be appointed to. The nominations received are set out on page 3 of your agenda. Accordingly, the Lady Mayor declares members to be appointed as set out at items 6A and 6B. Next, item 7 on page 11, a report of your Policy and Resources Committee concerning the investment of the City of London Corporation into its housing stock. The Chairman of Policy and Resources.
My Lady Mayor, when this honourable court met in June, the overwhelming view of honourable members was a commitment to restoring our housing so that we are proud to display our crest and so that residents can live in housing worthy of our great city and indeed of London. The plan for approval today has been a team effort, And I want to pay tribute particularly to the contributions of the chairs of Finance and CCS committees, the chair of the Housing Subcommittee and our lead member for residents, Jackie Webster. We identified some months ago an expedited 10-year investment plan, reduced from 20 years, of major works to address much-needed repairs and maintenance across our estates, including windows, roofing, heating, fire safety, and electrical compliance. Today, honourable members are being asked to approve additional capital funding from City Fund of £152 million for the Housing Investment Programme, which has a total programme cost of £211 million over 10 years. On the recommendation of the Chamberlain and following the approval of your Finance and Policy and Resources Committees, an additional optimism bias of £79 million is included to manage unknown future inflation and construction costs. Now, honourable members have received an email from Alderwoman Grekos that challenges the numbers and tries to encourage members to raid City's estate, damaging our long-term financial stability. I might, I think, be forgiven for wondering whether the Alderwoman's commitment is to housing or to a determination to weaken the corporation's finances and our ability to be the government's partner of choice in pursuit of economic growth. Of the total programme costs, including optimism bias, which amounts to £290 million, £138 million can be funded through the housing revenue account, through prudential borrowing and leaseholder recharge. The remaining £152 million will be drawn from City Fund and is before us for decision today. This 10-year investment will significantly enhance the quality, safety and sustainability of the City Corporation's homes across the City, Hackney, Islington, Lambeth, Lewisham, Southwark and Tower Hamlets, enhancing our commitment to London as a whole. What we have before us today is a fully costed plan, as I promised in June, that meets our responsibilities to residents, and I hope that honourable members will unanimously support it. My Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman. Does any member wish to debate this item? Alderwoman Martha Grekos.
My Lady Mayor, I'm the first here to say that I'm passionate about my city and the belief in the corporation, despite that I may not always hold the same views as Chris Hayward. So I'm certainly not here to weaken the corporations and raid their city estate. The report before us gives the impression that its approval by the court today will solve the problem of funding the renovation of the corporation's housing estates. A quick look at the report's own figures, however, shows that this problem will not be solved by this approval. I explained how the figures do not add up in an email that I sent to all members 2 days ago. I would emphasise just 2 points in that email. First, only around £41 million of funding out of a total requirement of nearly £290 million is described as certain, with the rest ranging through various degrees of likelihood to more than 47 million not being accounted for at all. Second, the report refers to leaseholder contributions in an unspecified amount. Based on an amount mentioned in previous public reports, those contributions will be unaffordable for most leaseholders. This would result in many of them being forced to sell their homes. Who, though, would want to buy a dilapidated flat that carries a big liability imposed by a freeholder offloading the cost of its own failure to maintain its estates? It is the intention of this report is to draw a line under this embarrassing issue. It will not succeed. All this report proves is that the all-options approach that the court favoured in amending my original motion has not worked. The logical thing to do now is to recognise that the only credible source of funding for the deficit not covered by the sitting fund is our so-called private wealth fund, the city's estate. So I'll end on this line, and one for you to think about today and over Christmas. Isn't that the only moral option? My Lady Mayor?
Thank you, Alderwoman. Next, I have Ms. Dawn Frampton.
My Lady Mayor, first of all, may I say what a pleasure it is to address a Lady Mayor. It is a proud moment for this court. I also want to thank everyone who joined the recent Golden Lane walkabouts and sent messages of support. That engagement matters. For decades, rental income has not been reinvested back into our estates. Instead, we have relied on reactive maintenance. Where has that money gone? At the time, it did not fund building new homes. That is a more recent development. So therefore, residents' expectations today are entirely reasonable. I appreciate the significant work and effort that has gone into reaching this stage. As the report states, if these works are not undertaken, the building fabric of our housing stock will continue to deteriorate. It also indicates that leaseholders across all estates may face substantial charges, costs that have inflated by years of inadequate maintenance. Can the Chair of P&R assure us that leaseholders will not be left facing financial hardship or worse, financial ruin? And will his committee explore practical ways to support them as part of this programme?
Thank you, Ms. Frampton. Deputy Andrian Mayers.
My Lady Mayor, my parents always told me to ensure that food, clothing, and shelter are the three most important things to any human being. And it's the third point that I'd like to touch on. Shelter. The vision for our corporation is clear. Build more social homes across London. That ties in with the government's agenda. However, we do have 3,000 units, two-thirds of which are with rented, and a third which are with leaseholders. We need to do this from a decent home standard. Every individual has the right to a decent home. Our fiduciary responsibility, not just to the regulator for social housing, but to every person that needs a decent home. Our housing stock is not up to scratch. So my first point, my Lady Mayor, we have a fiduciary duty to ensure that our residents are looked after. Yes, as Dawn has mentioned earlier, there has been a significant underinvestment in our housing stock. Now, thanks to the Policy and Resources Committee, the Community and Children's Services Committee, the Finance Committee, and various other members working in collaboration with the tireless work that our officers have put in, have found a solution. This court gave an instruction to find where the source of funding could come from. All options were looked at. And this paper makes it very clear that the 152 million that the chair of PNR has referred to has been found. It is our duty, not just from a financial perspective, but also from a fiduciary perspective, to look after our residents. My Lady Mayor, I speak on behalf of our chair, I speak on my behalf, but I speak as just a person. It is our duty to look after our residents. Thank you, my Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy. Next, I have Ms. Sarah Gillinson. Thank you.
My Lady Mayor, as others have already said, this is a really significant moment for the first time, we have in front of us a real plan for funding the core investment that is required to bring, as Andrian has said so eloquently, all of our homes up to the decent and safe standard that all of our residents should expect. Now, we should wholeheartedly approve that today, I believe, alongside holding ourselves to account for making sure that we also source the money required for the additional costs that are likely to occur as costs rise. Absolutely right. And I also want to pay tribute. We've already paid tribute to chair colleagues who've been part of this, but to colleagues particularly in Cripplegate, Dawn and Kerry and Anne, she's over there, who over many years have fought for this. So this is of high significance, and absolutely we should vote for this today. But in all honesty, I also want to urge us to focus on the future. So when we talk and work with residents, the thing that they are concerned about, of course, is having the money, but much more importantly than that, is getting on and spending it in such a way where they can see real, high-quality change at pace that really works for them in their lives. That's where our energies should be now, not in arguing amongst ourselves about the precise sources of the additional money over time. And we're already beginning to see the value of that approach. Several people have talked quite rightly about the importance of giving leaseholders a fair deal today. Now, next week, in the Golden Lane Major Works Renewal Board, we have 2 items on our agenda. One is to look at a methodology for ensuring fair and reasonable leaseholder contributions to this process, along with how we're going to communicate with residents about what it is they actually need to know about this process. If there was any more evidence that we needed, that what we now need to focus on is how we work in partnership with residents and officers and members to get this work done, I think that's got to be the example. So let's approve this today, but then let's be focused on the real work, which is working in partnership between residents, members and officers to get this spent fairly and well and quickly to improve residents' lives soon. Thank you, my Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Gillinson. The last member I have is Deputy Marianne Fredericks. So if members do want to speak, please ensure that we are made aware of that. Deputy Fredericks.
Thank you, my Lady Mayor. I think everyone agrees that this report is worthy of being supported. But I am once again rather disappointed with the comments of the policy chair, who shoots the messenger. And for those of us who have been raising the issue on our housing stock, the dilapidation, the backlog of repairs and maintenance, we have for many years been shot. We've been vilified. We've been ostracised. And it's incredibly sad to see that once again that continues. The Alderwoman raises some really substantial points about the figures. And it was really interesting to see that yesterday's announcement that the Barbican first phase, £191 million, will proceed at speed and intense construction and consolidation of projects, so that that work will be carried out over 2 years or so. And that's what's needed with our housing. And to do that, we need the extra funding. Otherwise, we really do run the risk of the regulator taking housing off of us as it's deemed not fit. But as the members point out, the residents have been living for over 10 years or more with these promises. This is a 10-year project. It was a 5-year project, which was rolled into another 5-year project, which has now been rolled into another 10-year project. They really need to see some change. And to do that, there needs to be that consolidation and intensive work. And I'm surprised that we are concerned about selling some of our investments, because we see further on that we're asked to sell investments to cover some further costs. And we also did this with Crossrail, when we sold a number of our investments to raise the funding. So I really think today, yes, you can say we have made progress, we have taken off our rosy-coloured glasses, and we finally acknowledged the state of our housing. But I think we need to go further and realise that the sums here, I do not believe, will resolve the issue, and neither will charging the leaseholders unsubstantiated amounts will cover the costs. And ultimately, we will have to look at some of our investments to see how we can raise further funds. So whilst I welcome this, I think this is stage one, and I would like to see us continue to look at our investments and how we can raise up further funding to ensure that the residents do see the change that they have been waiting 20 years to see. My Lady Mayoress.
Thank you, Deputy. Deputy Helen Fentiman.
My Lady Mayor, I've heard many members in recent weeks and indeed this afternoon give support to the investment proposals that are put forward today to improve our social housing. And I'm very grateful for that, and of course I also give my full support to this programme. But I also want to say is that this work hasn't just happened in the last 6 months. I recall attending a question time, perhaps 2 years ago, maybe longer, with Chris Haywood when early days of his tenure as Chair of Policy and Resources, where we heard residents say how they found the condition of their homes below the standard that they should rightly expect. We listened to that and initiated a piece of work which was to assess all of our properties, not just those that within the square mile. And it has taken possibly 2 years to get us to the point where we have a good understanding of what needs to be done in each of these housing estates that are included in this programme. I should say, though, this is in addition to a programme that has already been underway over a period of time, where we've been investing 110 million in our homes. And those members who have been able to visit the estates more recently will see what a difference that investment has made. It is fantastic, and people enjoy the comfort of their homes as a result of the work that we've undertaken. I do today want to give assurance that, subject to the final approval of this, we will deliver the 10-year programme. Residents have waited too long for essential repairs and upgrades to their homes. Looking to the future, I absolutely agree with my colleague from Cripplegate about that being the next important step. Detailed plans are being developed for the implementation of the refurbishment, and work is progressing at pace, and that is for each estate. And each estate is in a slightly different stage of development, but nevertheless, there is a focus on all estates. We will deliver this programme, and residents in all estates are being included in the discussions about the changes to their homes. We have to achieve decent home standards. I believe that this programme will help us do that, but having achieved that, it's only the start of the story. We must continue to maintain those homes in the condition in which we expect to achieve at the end of this programme. I commit on behalf of the Community and Children's Services that we will endeavour to do that. As we bring new homes into being and as we improve these homes, the income from our...
Deputy, please conclude.
The income into our housing revenue account will allow us to do that. Thank you, my Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy. Mr. Anthony Fitzpatrick.
My Lady Mayor, I'd just like to firstly express thanks to all of those who have been involved in preparing the report and indeed finding the funding. It was interesting when we talked in June and what we've heard today. We just need to look at the conclusion of the paper to see why we have to vote this through today. This is about ensuring that residents are living in good quality, secure, safe, warm homes. Having seen the condition of some of our properties outside of the square mile, in Lambeth and in Southwark, this is long overdue. So please do vote for this today.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzpatrick. Any other member wish to debate the item? Deputy Bethany Coombs.
My Lady Mayor, we've heard talk in here about the figures, and we've heard some talk about humanity and the residents, but these people are human beings. There's plenty of highfalutin talk about being bold and moving forward and modernising the corporation, but it seems to me that as soon as a member suggests something that doesn't quite fit in with what the establishment might want them to suggest, that there's a sharp intake of breath and everyone is horrified. Oh, we can't possibly do that because it's never been done before. So are we just talking the talk about modernising and moving forward and changing and becoming bold? Or are we just going to continue to fail the residents who I'm sure over the years have lost trust in us, and we need to regain that trust. And I think of the residents who will be sitting there this Christmas worrying about what is going to happen, where they will find the cost if they have to find it. And I think sometimes this gets lost in the debate about figures, and I do think that Alderwoman Greckos has some excellent points, and I do think that she should be shown some respect in listening to them, rather than the sharp intakes of breath and moans and groans that sometimes seem to go around this court when somebody speaks up against something. Thank you, my Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy. Any other member wish to speak to the report? Ms. Kerry Wilkins. Thank you.
Thank you. My Lady Mayor, can I just remind everyone this isn't just about leaseholders, it's also about tenants and the homes that they're living in, which are substandard. And can I also just make a request from the chairs of all the relevant committees that this isn't just about the work that needs to be done now, but there's also about the planned maintenance going forward for the next 50 years, not just the next 10. My Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy. Any other member wish to debate or speak? Seeing none, it's over to you, Chairman, to reply and close the debate. A reminder that you have 5 minutes so to do.
Thank you very much, my Lady Mayor, members of Court of Common Council. Thank you for a good discussion and debate where views have been expressed. I'll do my best to cover the points that have been raised as quickly as I can. Firstly, dealing with the point raised by both Alderwoman Greckos and Dawn Frampton around the leaseholders, which is an important point that we need to consider, but I'm assured that officers across the corporation are already assessing the implications of the leaseholder charge. They will bring reports to CCS committee to agree a fair and a transparent approach to repayments, together with any mitigations that may be appropriate given the scale and the complexity of the programme. So we do not want our leaseholders to be frightened or fearful. We want to reassure them, and we will do that in the coming months. I feel I want to just bring us back to the central point, that the people who live in our homes deserve safety, they deserve dignity, they deserve comfort. Look, the only difference between the position I take and that of Alderwoman Greckos is on the funding mechanisms. Nothing else. I'm sure we all ultimately want people to live in good homes. Andrew Mayer said that it's a fiduciary duty and a financial duty. I agree with him entirely, but it's also, most importantly for me, a moral duty that people should live in decent homes. And I feel that very passionately, and I genuinely believe that everybody deserves to live in good housing. I went to Golden Lane and Middlesex Street a couple of times now. I've been round those estates. And I have to tell honourable members, I genuinely felt ashamed and appalled to see our city crest on these estates because of the conditions that people were living in. And Helen Fentiman is correct. This isn't something we've dreamt up in 6 months. We've been talking about it for 3 years. Frankly, we've been talking about it for numerous years, but did nothing about it. Now we are doing something about it. You may say, too late. It's never too late to give people a decent home. It's never too late to look after our tenants, to look after those who reside in this city of London. I agree with Sarah Guinnison as well when she says, today is the start of the journey. We have to hold ourselves to account to this programme. This is a long term. It takes 10 years to do this with a very big investment that we are actually making. Now, in relation to the point that Alderwoman Greckos makes about not every element being 100% funded at today, look, she's right about the optimism bias, but the optimism bias is not programme expenditure. It's a precaution, recognising the volatility of the construction sector and the length of this programme. And we have 10 years to deal with that £45 million that we will need to find on the optimism bias. So what are we going to do? Hold up today because we haven't absolutely identified every single last pound. We have got 97, 98% of the funding agreed if you vote in favour today. Surely we owe that to our residents, not to delay any longer. This isn't a matter, let me assure Deputy Coombs, about the establishment, whatever the establishment means, because we're all 125 independent souls in this court. It's about the methodology of which we set about funding this investment and this programme. And that's what I've tried to set out in my comments to the court today. And we have set out that plan, and it can be fully funded from the City Fund. It is being funded from the City Fund, and we should rejoice at that. We shouldn't be critical of that. We should be delighted, because that's where it should be, in City Fund. City Fund is about our local government provision. It's about our local government services, let me remind honourable members. But the questions have also been raised about the housing revenue account. Well, like many authorities, our HRA is under real strain. We've had capped rental income, volatility in the construction sector, increased health and safety requirements. All of these things have made it difficult for our HRA. But I believe that these pressures, whilst being real, mean that this programme starts to address some of those challenges that we've had over many, many years. So, my Lady Mayor, in conclusion, I commend this report to the court this afternoon.
Thank you, Chairman. So, members, the report before you is to agree. On the contrary, for the first time, and I'm very proud to say, the Lady Mayor declares the report to be carried. Moving to item 8 on page 17, a report of your Finance Committee concerning procurement arrangements for a pan-London sexual health e-service programme. Does any honourable member wish to debate this particular item? Seeing none, the report before you, members, is to agree. And on the contrary, the Lady Mayor declares the report to be carried. At item 9, we have 2 reports of your Planning and Transportation Committee. First, at page 25, item 9A, a report concerning main and additional modifications to the City Plan 2040. Does any honourable member wish to debate this item? Mr. Ali.
My Lady Mayor, I just wanted to bring something to you members' attention in regards to parking, because this is specifically around the revenue, I appreciate, but it is also affecting residents. As many members who do park...
Mr. Ali, if I can interrupt you, that's the next item.
Beg your pardon.
Thank you.
Wait.
Deputy Marianne Fredericks.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, my Lady Mayor. The second point, authorise the Director of Planning and Development in liaison with the Chair and Deputy Chair of Planning and Transportation Committee to provide the City Corporation's response in consultation responses received. Can I just ask that that work is actually shared with the Planning Committee and the Court and is actually put up on the planning portal so that it's publicly available for everybody who contributed to the consultation and the planning inquiry? My Lord Mayor, my Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy. Any other member wish to debate this particular report? Seeing none, the Chairman to reply and close the debate. Thank you.
My Lady Mayor, yes, I see no reason why consultation responses shouldn't come back through the kind of the various committee cycles. One thing I will need to check is whether if people have submitted responses that they don't want to be published, if that might then prohibit us from making them public. But notwithstanding that, I don't think there's a problem with us embracing transparency on this matter. My Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman. The report, members, is before you to agree. And on the contrary, the Lady Mayor declares the report to be carried. Second, we have at item 9B on page 33, this report concerns the annual on-street parking accounts for 2024-2025 and related funding of highway improvements. Does any honourable member wish to debate the item now? Mr. Ali.
My Lady Mayor, thank you. Right. The specific matter here is in regards to, I appreciate the budgets we're speaking about. I wanted to take this opportunity to raise a fundamental issue faced by my constituents. If you do drive and you have the privilege of having a parking space, or in other parts of London where you don't live in the city, you have parking bays, our residents have for long struggled with getting adequate parking. And my request here, and I seek assurances that we can investigate ways of providing, with this opportunity here, seeking opportunities to provide parking bays specifically in the areas where we do have residents, i.e. the 4 wards. Because this has been an ongoing issue and we've tried to explore this in the past. It does raise some revenue as well, but it gives residents the assurances that when we speak about one city, we genuinely mean one city, and that the services that other boroughs provide for their residents, we also provide those too. My Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Ali. Any other member? If not, the chairman to reply and close the debate.
My Lady Mayor, to Councillor Ali, thank you for raising that. I think we won't rule in or out whether or not the endpoint, that provision will be made and guaranteed, but you did ask for us to investigate it, so investigate it we shall, my Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, the report is before you to agree. And on the contrary, the Lady Mayor declares the report to be duly carried. Under item 10 on page 41 is a resolution of thanks to the late Lord Mayor, submitted by Deputy Caroline Haynes. The terms of the resolution were read informally at the October meeting, you will recall, and are now presented for formal consideration. The Chief Commoner to second the motion.
I have great pleasure in seconding the vote of thanks. My Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. That then is to agree. And on the contrary, the Lady Mayor declares the motion to be carried unanimously. At item 11, there are 3 motions. First, under paragraph A, the motion put by Deputy Caroline Haynes is that the resolution of thanks to the late Lord Mayor, passed by Common Hall on 29th of September last, be presented in a form agreeable to him. The Chief Commoner.
I have great pleasure in seconding the motion.
Thank you, Chief. Members to agree? And on the contrary, the Lady Mayor declares the motion to be carried. Secondly, under paragraph B, the motion put by Deputy Paul Martinelli is that the resolution of thanks to the late sheriffs of the city, passed by Common Hall on the 29th of September last, be presented in a form agreeable to them. The Chief Commoner.
I have great pleasure in seconding this motion.
To agree, members? On the contrary, the Lady Mayor declares the motion to be carried. And finally, under paragraph C, is a motion submitted by Deputy Dawn Wright proposing her appointment to the Planning and Transportation Committee for the ward of Coleman Street in the room of Philip Kelvin, who has stepped down from this committee. The Chief Commoner.
I'm happy to second this motion.
Again, thank you, Chief. That is to agree, members. And on the contrary, the Lady Mayor declares the motion to be duly carried. Item 12, beginning on page 43, presents the list of applicants for the freedom. The motion is that the several persons named be admitted to the freedom accordingly. To agree? On the contrary, the Lady Mayor declares the motion to be carried. We move then to item 13, where the Right Honourable the Lady Mayor has received notice of one question. Deputy Tom Slay to ask a question of the Chairman of Policy and Resources.
Thank you. My Lady Mayor, I'm conscious we've had lunch and we're wearing many layers of fur and it's rather warm in here, so I may be too soporific if I read out my question at length, so take it as read. I would just add that I was really struck on various trips I undertook on behalf of the corporation at how investors and would-be investors raised voluntarily with me concerns over actual and perceptions of crime across the capital. And I'd just like to understand from the Policy Chair, what assessment have we made as an organisation working with our police and partners across the capital on how that might impact our own multiple activities to promote investment into the city? My Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy. Chairman.
My Lady Mayor, I thank the Chairman of Planning and Transportation for his question. He is right to highlight the effort behind our international activity and promotion activity, that is, and it's therefore disappointing to hear that wider perceptions of London may be undermining this progress. Security, both physical and economic, remains central to our offer as a leading global business district, and we have a strong and evidence-based story to tell. Indeed, as he will know, the City of London itself here is one of the safest business districts in the world, thanks to our independent City of London police force. Our crime figures reflect that. Phone snatching in the city has fallen by 30% between April and October, compared with the same period last year, a direct result of the launch of Operation Swipe, an extensive initiative designed to deter, detect, apprehend and prevent this type of offending. In addition, the City Police and partners have intensified activity in key hotspots, delivering more than 6,300 additional visible patrol hours since April. But let me turn for a moment to London more broadly, which I suspect is where the Chairman of Planning and Transportation is coming from. Metropolitan Police data shows crime so far this year is 2.4% lower than the previous year to date. For theft, which would include phone snatching, the fall is 6.5%. Safety has been woven into our Destination City programme, which in turn is working closely with the CBIU, our business investment unit that is, and colleagues in the City of London Police to tell our story in a more coordinated, confident and consistent way. In reality, Chairman of Planning and Transportation, I think we have to tell this in a positive, we have a positive story to tell, and we have to get it out there and not allow the perceptions that you've picked up to dominate. We recognise, therefore, our need to redouble our efforts to ensure that the city's strong record is clearly heard and not drowned out by wider perceptions of London, which in itself also has a positive story to tell. My Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman. Deputy Slade, do you have a supplementary question?
My Lady Mayor, let me steal the microphone back. Given that investor perceptions are often shaped not just by our own but others' experiences, but more importantly perhaps by media coverage and narratives that we see in the media and on social media that may well be from other parts of London, what are we doing with partners across London to ensure that action is being taken to correct these damaging perceptions, making sure that we're joined up across the capital and to make sure that investor confidence isn't being undermined? My Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy. Chairman.
My Lady Mayor, as part of the wider business engagement undertaken by you as Lady Mayor, myself as Policy Chairman, other Chairmen, including yourself, Chairman of Planning and Transportation, and the Corporate Communications team, we should continue to reinforce key messaging that certainly the Square Mile benefits from an independent police service dedicated to keeping all who live, work and visit this city safe. There is also an emphasis on the wider importance of economic security and the City Police's role in ensuring that the Square Mile continues to be a stable, trusted environment for business, an essential foundation for strengthening investor confidence in the Square Mile. The City Corporation and the City of London Police have long-standing and extensive partnerships across London. For example, under the Operation Benbow Agreement, the City of London Police, the Met and British Transport Police can pool resources under one command to police both pre-planned and reactive operations across London. The City Police and the Met regularly partner on targeted initiatives, including recent work on the phone snatching I mentioned earlier and illegal e-bikes, something I know you're concerned with on your committee, Chair. We also work through London-wide forums and partnerships, including London Councils, the GLA and MOPAC, to ensure consistent messaging on safety and the business environment across the capital, so that issues elsewhere in London do not undermine confidence in investing in the city. Clearly, we want confidence in investing across London as well as in the city, though. In short, the partnerships are there and the commitment to keep working on this is there, but he is right that we must be clear and purposeful in correcting established narratives at home and abroad. The city will use its position to lead in this space, working closely with London and GLA partners. My Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman. Any other member on this item? Ms. Tana Adkin.
Thank you, my Lady Mayor. May I add to Deputy Slay's question, this week saw the last day of 16 days of action against gender-based violence. Does the city recognise that women's safety is integral to London's overall safety? With a Lady Mayor in post and the recognition of women in the Lady Mayor's show, we must, including men as our allies, ensure that the city is positive about women in politics, as well as women's safety in the city.
Thank you, Ms. Adkin. Chairman.
My Lady Mayor, I thank Tanya Adkin for her question. It's a very fair point, and one I think we should publicly declare here at this Court of Common Council today, that we are in support, 110% in support of women in all aspects of life, be it in politics, be it in anything that in the city. When I first joined this Court of Common Council in 2013, there were not too many women members of this court. I'm proud today to look across this chamber and to see so many women here and participating in our debates and our discussions. It is a sign that the City Corporation and the Court of Common Council have moved correctly in the right direction to have a greater diversification, a greater inclusivity policy, and we must stand up, absolutely stand up for women at all times, my Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman. Deputy Marianne Fredericks.
Thank you, my Lady Mayor. I'm sure the Policy Chair will agree that our city police are very hard-working. It might be a small force, but it's incredibly hard-working. And we have rolled out safe havens and the safe hub at Liverpool Street, which is there for anyone who's feeling vulnerable on their way home after a night out. But equally, the licensing committee should be doing its role to ensure that the licensing objectives are promoted by each venue. But one thing that does tend to spoil the environment of the city, and I see it crop up more, and I have raised it at committee, is graffiti. And it makes an area look really run down. In the past, when I first became a member, the corporation would speedily remove the graffiti because the quicker it's removed, it sends a message out that we don't tolerate this. But over the years, we have left the graffiti to the landowner to deal with, and it's very upsetting for residents who end up having graffiti sprayed over their building. They actually end up having to pay the cost for that removal. And then they argue, well, where are the police in ensuring that this graffiti isn't being carried out? What are we doing on the streets? So how can we remove this perception of a poor environment and low level of safety by removing that graffiti quickly and speedily? And equally, I think we all have to acknowledge we have an element of our own personal safety
Deputy,
we
please
must
conclude.
be responsible for, and helping the police by reporting crimes or even the mere attempt of a snatch so that they can build up the intelligence and they can place the resources where it's required. My Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy. Chairman.
My Lady Mayor, I thank Marianne Fredericks for her question. And let me say at the outset, in response to the very first point she made, we have 110% support for our very, very hard-working, really outstanding City of London police force. We are unique in the country with this force, and particularly its primary objective, or its national objective, I should say, around economic crime and fraud. And I congratulate the force on the very successful fraud reporting system which was introduced just this past week. A resounding success, as is everything we do in this first-class run police force. I also agree with Marianne Fredericks that of course we must promote the licensing objectives, as she said, but the substance of her question to me was around graffiti and graffiti removal. And I do think we need to redouble our efforts on graffiti removal. I accept the challenge she poses, which is that we perhaps are not doing it as fast as we used to do it beforehand. So I had a quick whisper in the ear of the Chair of Planning and Transportation while you were asking the question, Marianne. He has said that if you raise this at the Planning and Transportation Committee, he will undertake to have a full review on how we can move faster on graffiti removal. My Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Jason Groves.
Thank you, my Lady Mayor. it's very good to be here as Deputy Chair of the Police Authority Board. And I was very glad to hear the Policy Chairman mention Operation Swipe and the tremendous success that has had. Indeed, year on year, crime is down 6% in the city and theft down 7% year on year, which is part of a long-term reducing trend. I want to pay particular regard to the City of London Police and the local policing teams that have done such fantastic work. I can assure you that at Police Authority Board there is a very big focus on this, and particularly on violence against women and girls. It is something that is brought up at every single meeting of the Police Authority Board. We are absolutely committed to reducing violence against women and girls. The Ask for Angela campaign, the great success the police have had at doing that, and although there has been a slight increase in violence against women and girls, it is something that is taking up a huge amount of attention. So I'm glad to hear that acknowledged as well. The Policy Chairman might be interested to know that we have already distributed over 300 phone marking kits to help identify phones and disincentivise phone theft as well, and the 40 illegal bikes, many of which have used in phone thefts, have been seized by City Police, which has contributed to that excellent result that he mentioned. Would he, though, commit, and I take the point of Tom Slay in his original question, to working with the communications team at the corporation to make sure that this safer city narrative is built into perhaps speeches that he and the Lady Mayor make as they go around the world? My lady.
Thank you, Deputy. Chairman.
My Lady Mayor, I can't obviously commit the Lady Mayor to what she chooses to say in her speeches, but neither can I to the Chair of Planning and Transportation. But I'm sure they've heard your message and your request this afternoon, and I'm sure they'll take that into due account. My Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman. Any other member wish to ask a question? Deputy Peter Dunphy.
My Lady Mayor, it's more of a point of information, which is that the issue of graffiti removal would come to the Port Health and Environmental Services Committee, and I would welcome putting it on the agenda as it has actually been discussed. It's a rather complex issue because the responsibility of removal from private property does fall to the owners of that property unless it's offensive graffiti. The local authority has responsibility, obviously.
Sorry, Deputy, is there a question here?
The question is, does the Chair of Policy understand the remits of his committees? My Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy. No need to respond. There wasn't a question.
There is a small point in response, really, which I would like to make as it was a question. May I do that?
Well, was there a question?
Yes, it was a question.
Okay. So the question was, is he aware? Chairman.
Well, I think the question, actually, with due respect, my Lady Mayor, sorry, I know you're not the Lady Mayor, but to the Lady Mayor, was that, that do I understand the responsibilities of committees in the corporation, which is a fair criticism, to be honest with you. I think those in this honourable court, of course, who know Tom Slay, know that he likes to land grab from any committee he can. So we perhaps shouldn't be surprised that he wants to take responsibility for graffiti now as well. But I'm sure between the two of you, you'll sort it out, my Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman. Any other member? Provision for two more. We can. Okay. Seeing none, let's move on. Thank you, members. To item 14. On page 52, a report of your Community and Children's Services Committee regarding the Corporate Parenting Strategy 2025 to 2028 and the Corporate Parenting Annual Report 2024 to 2025. The Chair of Community and Children's Services.
Thank you, my Lady Mayor. This refreshed corporate strategy, corporate parenting strategy, sets out the City of London's commitment and vision to children and care leavers. Importantly, it reminds us all that we hold statutory responsibilities in this area as corporate parents, and as such, we must ensure through our children's social care services and all other departments with regard to well-being, inclusion and success of these young people, we have to deliver to that statutory responsibility. Our guiding principle in all of this is, would this be good enough for my child? And I ask all of you to consider that when you are looking and reviewing the policy and the annual report. The priorities have been shaped by the children. I tell you that they do not hold back when they tell us what works well and what works less well, and though their views have been incorporated into this, they've had a very central role in producing these documents. And while we have small numbers, and they are recorded in the reports, we are ambitious for every child and care leaver, many of whom continue with complex needs into their adult life. We continue to support them directly until they are aged 25 and signpost into other services as they grow more into their adult life. The strategy builds on the principles and aspirational commitments that we have, and to ensure that every young person can thrive into adulthood with dignity, opportunity and support. I'm pleased to present this strategy for your endorsement and ask all members to recognise their continuing responsibility and take the opportunity to engage in the training offered annually. For those who were unable to attend this year, it was recorded and it is available on the members' portal. I urge you all to have a look at that. Finally, I just want to say we have a real record to be proud of in respect of our children's services. Last year, in our social services for children, we had an outstanding overall rating from Ofsted. And this year, we had a glowing report from Ofsted and CQC with regard to our SEND services. They found that children and young people receive tailored, compassionate support through a collaborative approach across education, health and social care. I recommend this to you. My Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman. That report is to receive, members. Moving to item 15 on page 81 is a report of measures introduced into Parliament which might have an effect on the City Corporation. This is to receive. At item 16 is a list of results of the ballots taken at the last court. This is also to receive. At item 17, there are no resolutions. 18, there is no report. At item 19, there are no dockets for the seal. 20 is the motion to exclude the public. The Right Honourable the Lady Mayor has been informed of several matters for consideration after the public have withdrawn from the meeting, and the Chief Commoner has placed a motion on the summons to exclude the public whilst these items are being considered. Is the motion to exclude the public seconded?
I'm pleased to second the motion, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy. That then, members, is to agree. And on the contrary, the Lady Mayor declares the motion to be carried. Will members of the public and officers in the public gallery kindly withdraw, and could the live stream please be ended?